Welcome to Herbech Talk, your source for all things cannabis. I'm Isabella, and on this week's segment, we're talking with Evan Damareck. Evan is the retail sales manager for the Living Room Dispensary, and judging by the title, you can assume it to be both a dispensary and also a lounge, I presume. Thank you, Evan, for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me. My pleasure to participate, and I always love to talk cannabis. So
yes, where are you located?
So we're in Pikesville, Maryland, Baltimore County, and we are a medical-only state right now. So we're a medical dispensary. So even though the name says living room, we do not actually have hanging out and lounging, especially with how COVID was last year.
Of course.
But we are getting ready to open our doors June 1st for inside service again. We have been doing curbside only pretty much since last year.
Nice.
We're excited for that.
Did you guys have a strong lockdown restrictions?
Oh, yeah. So Maryland, the Medical Cannabis Commission, the MMCC, they sort of started putting things in place along with what the state was doing. So some stores were able to stay open. We just felt it was safer to go right to curbside and home delivery. So we pretty much did that almost right away through now, and finally started to feel a little bit more comfortable where June 1st is when we are opening back up to let patients come back inside.
And were you guys able to thrive or just survive throughout the pandemic? Because I know that the increase for cannabis increased because of the pandemic.
Yes, for sure. I guess you could say thrive, very thankful to be able to be open part of this industry and to be able to provide medicine to people during these tough times, whether it's for helping with sleep, anxiety, depression. Definitely there's a lot of different areas where hopefully cannabis could help. And we were happy to be able to provide it.
Tell us a bit more about you. How did you get started in cannabis? What's your journey been like?
Sure. So I was mostly in retail type work, background in like waiting tables and doing mortgages and
service.
Yep. And then I worked for a health club, Brick Bodies, and started working with them for almost 10 years and got to learn a lot, diving more into that service part. And I've always been a cannabis user since I was probably 16, daily since 18. So always was passionate about that, and went to the Denver Cannabis Cup in 2015.
Wow.
And that really got me excited to realize.
You went as a spectator? As a spectator?
Yeah, just with a buddy, and we went, and it was like, I could do this forever, and wanted to cash out 401k and move to Colorado and do all of that. And at the same time, I fortunately met my now wife, and had people tell me to stay in Maryland. It's going to be coming soon, and just try to get in the industry that way. So I stayed with Brick Bodies and started pursuing people that were getting licenses in Maryland, and seeing who was hiring and what I could do to get my foot in the door, and what the, I guess, bottom threshold was of what we could take on hourly wise to still thrive as a family. And whether that meant a huge pay cut or not, I wanted to be part of this, and it's been wonderful ever since.
I think it's great. I mean, cannabis allows you to live a lifestyle that you enjoy. Plus, I believe it to be a fulfilling industry. I've been working with cannabis for about a year now. And it really is, everybody who's involved in the process can benefit, which is why there's abundance of jobs, of business. So kind of segueing into, your experience in retail and as a manager, given your experience working in cannabis retail, what do you believe are some practices that all dispensary managers should implement in their operations?
So great question. I think especially if you're in a medical state, obviously making sure you're compliant. You have to maintain compliance. So having a core operations group and team that really dives into just what the regulations are to be able to maintain the license. And then second to that is probably diversity and that customer service aspect, and making sure you put a team together that, just like you said, you have to love cannabis. If you're in it for the money, you got another thing coming to you. That
you
is
don't enjoy it as much.
No, you have to be in it because you really love cannabis. You believe in it. You've seen it help someone else if it's not something that you partake in yourself. But yeah, I think that is the key aspects of it. You can teach about cannabis. You can teach about sales, but some people just have that compassion, that empathy, and that customer service. And then obviously with cannabis, and you need diversity. You have so many people that are in prison right now and locked up for what we get to do every day. And it's kind of insane when you really think about that. And there's places like the Last Prisoner Project and groups you can donate money to really help and show that it's more than the cannabis. I mean, in the Maryland Medical Cannabis Commission, you have to pass a background check, a drug test, and it makes it somewhat hard for some people to be able to even get in the industry who maybe have had.
So to be able to work in retail or in manufacturing or
medical,
but you have to apply, get a background check. There's certain requirements that the state places on businesses.
Correct. So in Maryland, you have to work for a grow facility, a processor, or to work for a dispensary. So you could work for like a glass shop, or you could work on something that's not cannabis touching. But if you wanted to be in the plant touching field, you have to go through these steps of a background check, fingerprinting, drug testing, which you can, obviously, if you're a patient, you can fail for cannabis. But if you're not a patient and you have cannabis in your system, you would fail and not be able to get a job. And it really is just one of those things that's another thing we have to sort of overcome step by step and really appreciate where we are now, but understand there's still a long way to go.
Of course. And in Maryland, do you guys have active legislation that's working to alleviate, this tension and this gray area?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of groups and people working behind the scenes, and there is the MDMDA, Maryland Dispensary Association for Maryland. So they get together with a lot of the dispensaries, and they take on a lot of the feedback that are the most problematic in different areas. There's also a dream committee for diversity. So there's a lot that is being worked on. But again, yeah, just so much more to go.
Okay. And now going back into the actual dispensary, what components do you think make up an awesome bartender staff?
Oh man, for me, I think it's it's that mix of everything. We'll get patients who are in that wisdom age range, and they'll say, "You would never hire me, I'm too old." And it's like, that's not true at all. Like, we want everybody, and there's so many different people that use cannabis that I think if you are just passionate and have that drive and I guess the guts, because there are people who, I love cannabis, but I couldn't do that. Or like they won't actually apply or think that it's for them. And then you also have people who, they love wine, but they don't want to go work at a winery or go pick grapes or do things like that. And with cannabis, you just love it so much, you want to be a part of any of it. And I think that
there's more open, there's a more friendly culture behind cannabis, just because I think cannabis just makes everybody chill. Smoke weed just makes everybody chill.
Yep.
It makes everybody level-headed.
Exactly. And you want people who are understanding and compassionate and realize that people are coming here who maybe they couldn't sleep last night and they're coming to get their medicine because they ran out of money yesterday. And you're that barrier of helping them get it. And you have to be understanding of what people might be going through.
Yes, that is very true. So do you believe that it's best to have verticalized seed to sale operations or work with different providers?
Great question there. So we are fortunate that we have all three tiers. So we're part of the Evermore brand, and we have our grow, processing, and the store to dispense. We also just recently got our kitchen approved because edibles is just
nice
in Maryland. So very excited.
In the kitchen.
Yeah, we're going to have chocolates coming soon. So really, really excited for the Evermore brand to be out there even more than it already is. But I think that you need to have everything available to you. So for us, of course, it's fortunate that we have all three licenses, but we carry all the brands that we can in Maryland. There are patients who want certain things or who are used to a certain type of, whether it's flower, brand, marketing, whatever it may be. And it's so important to be able to provide that for people. And we very much care about doing that. So yeah, I like the idea of having all three licenses, and it is very beneficial to us. But you at the same time want to be able to carry the other growers and processors so patients can have a plethora of products to choose from.
So you guys have that balance between your own products and other cultivators. So you guys have that healthy mix. I think that's a great way to go about it, just because you're carrying your own, you're showing your strength, and you're carrying others, which incentivizes them to carry you. So it's just like a mutually beneficial relationship.
Yeah, absolutely. And so many places are just great with wanting us to learn about their products and make sure we're explaining it correctly. And just that whole team environment and getting help from the other players in the industry is just.
Do you guys offer a lot of consumer education?
So we do our best, whether it's sharing through social media platforms. Prior to COVID, there were more classes and things like that. Right now, it's a lot of just sharing through social and different things that we can. But as the state opens back up, you'll see more and more events happening. And Maryland Leaf is a great magazine in the community, and they usually will host different things. And it's just really great once more of this can happen.
Okay, and what advice can you share with other dispensary management teams who are looking to strengthen the relationship with their customers?
Great question. So I would say having a customer loyalty program. So something, whether it's loyalty points, rewarding them for shopping a certain amount of times, something that ties them into wanting to come back to you. There's so many other stores that provide the same product and only so many growers. So generally, they're all going to have the same things. You have to be able to provide that service and try to be understanding. Some stores have this is our return policy and this is the way it is. And if you fall outside of that, there is no gray area.
There's no wiggle room.
Yep. And sometimes while with compliance, there's no wiggle room. It's black and white. With customer service, with sales, there has to be gray area and wiggle room and that compassion to be understanding that a person's situation may fall out of what's on paper, but you know what the right thing to do is in that situation. And hopefully we do that.
And what do you think distinguishes you guys from other medical dispensaries in Maryland?
So I would say some differentiators for us is how long we've been able to keep our team together. There's such a high turnover in the industry in general, and there's burnout. You know, we call them our team's PSA, Patient Service Associate, but Bartender essentially is you're dealing with medical patients all day. Some ask the same questions or just want the highest THC flower, and you're trying to educate them why that there's so much more to the endocannabinoids of the whole plant and all of that. And they'll look at you like they're listening and say, what's the highest THC you have? So there's just all of that can be draining, where you hope the more education you can get out there to show people they're missing out on some great quality products if they're just looking at like that high THC or certain,
people don't take
education just to happen.
The terpenes, people don't take into consideration terpenes and how they have to work with the cannabinoid, the THC, the CBD. And what is your guys' like main demographic?
Oh, wow. So where we are, we're in Pikesville and in the community. I mean, we have everything. So I would say generally that wisdom 55, 45 to up is a big chunk. And then we also have that younger range as well. It's really hard to say. I am never surprised at who I see shops here. You get a little bit of everybody.
Nice. I think that's awesome. And I think you guys are doing something right. And the way that your systems are operating obviously has your bartenders, or is it your medical patients? You said an acronym.
PSA, Patient Service Associate. PSA is what we say. Yeah.
You guys obviously have great culture. So I think this interview is going to serve for a lot of people and other dispensary owners who are looking, for tips, because a lot of people, don't know.
I think the big thing is that part where sometimes it sounds like once a mistake happens, they're quick to get rid of people in this industry, and you can never learn from those mistakes if you do that. And I think it's really looking to coach and teach and help people and help your weak link rather than think you just need to cut it off and get rid of it. And that is how you keep your team together and make people realize they are empowered to do so much more, and you believe in them, and then they'll believe in themselves. And it kind of
leaders create leaders. Leaders create leaders. So where can we keep up with the Living Room? Are you guys
So,
on social media, YouTube? Where can we find you guys?
yeah, so on social media, on Instagram, you're going to see the LVRM is for what will be on social. Evermore is something you can also see on Instagram. So if you search Evermore or the Living Room Dispensary, you'll be able to find us. And we just can't wait to connect and answer questions that people may have. And you can also email me, evan@thelvrm.com. And that'll go right to me. I'm happy to connect with people. I'm on LinkedIn. Just always loving to get with people in the industry, answer questions, and just show people that there's a lot of good here and that there's so much more to do.
Yes, we're shattering people's parameters and people's paradigms. With all this content and all these videos, is to just show how cannabis is really welcoming to everybody, and it's a step away from pharmaceuticals, and it is a great direction where I think we're headed. So
Yes.
I will make sure to tag your Instagram, add your email and everything in the captions for you guys to follow up.
Yeah. Evermore Brands, and then the Living Room MD for Living Room.
The Living Room. And I'm telling you, with a name like that, it makes me want to post up there.
And we want to, when rec comes, if we can have a couch and they have it where people can consume inside, I'm sure they'll be that day.
That's where we're heading. Once we're federally legal, that's definitely where we're heading.
Yeah.
So thank you for your time, Evan.
Isabella, you've been awesome. Thank you.
This week's segment of Herbech Talk. Thank you guys. I'll see you guys next week.